Good afternoon, everybody. It's RT here from Hxro Labs with Nick.
Hi,
Cote. Welcome.
we're back.
Good to have you back on the stream. It is Wednesday, July 22nd,
2020.
and things are popping today. Depending on, what you're trading, but there's a couple down in the trading pit that have been running fire today. We got Hxro that did really well, is doing really well, I should say, still going. Got AMB, number of other altcoins. We're going to be taking a look at those this afternoon and also talking about the supply chain narrative that we were theorizing about last month. I think it was last month, starting in June sometime, to do with VET and then seeing some of these other supply chains products potentially chasing after them, sort of like Ambrosis is today. Track has been on fire. So we're going to get into all that stuff a little later. But first, we're going to kick off with Nick. He's going to tell us a little bit about the S&P and some of the things that's been going on over in Legacy Town. So if you want to pull up your screen share, Nick. And we will...
Similar to what we're seeing in the altcoin land, the S&P has no chill. We got all the big earnings today. Tesla's coming out here after hours. Microsoft. Obviously, Tesla was impacted last quarter with their factories being shut down. So analysts are expecting lower on the side, but they have been profitable last 3 quarters. And Microsoft obviously crushing it. Has a lot of people been transitioning to working at home. And I think we're going to see that trend stick around even after, if coronavirus ever dissipates. Looking at the charts, you can clearly see we've had a breakout of this, month and a half long consolidation resistance level. Common sense says this is going to go back up. The challenge is 3350 area. There's a lot of things to keep an eye on here, obviously, with the potential extension for the eviction relief notice in the United States. I don't see how that can't go through. Otherwise, you're going to have a huge, eventually could turn into a housing crisis, but in the midterm, you would definitely have a rental and eviction crisis, which, push a lot of even more people out of work from that. This is something also we've been tracking in the newsletter for, months at this point. Gold finally making its move above the yearly resistance, and it's on fire. Right now on our all-time high tracker, we're less than 2.7% away. It's an all-time high. If you look across the pairings across CAD or ODD, Indian rupee, it's all popped up hard today. But more importantly, and where the real alpha is, that's what we've been saying, it's silver. This thing has been suppressed, lagging behind gold, pretty much all the precious metals really for years, finally getting a break here, 5-year level. Common sense, again, just simple Wyckoff method here, huge volume gap once it breaks this level. So we're going to be looking at that $27 to $28 where we would expect things to cool off. You look back here, you can see it's multi-year resistance. This is something that we've seen in the oil market. Once it broke down through $40, it's kind of been hovering around there. So potential SR flip. And hopefully what's happening here in the precious metals and the fundamentals around the world right now, we'd see some of this transition over to Bitcoin, the digital gold 2.0, which right now, the chart doesn't look bad. It's continuously holding these higher lows. Obviously the volatility and the volume has completely dropped off here, but we've been consolidating here for about 2 weeks now. And so keeping a really close eye on that 9,500 level. If we can close above there, I think we're going to have something. It could be something here, boys. So, until that happens, you may as well just, right-click your charts, go ahead and press that Add Alert button, because there's no point in looking at it until it moves above there. Otherwise, you're going to be trading the chop train.
Yeah, setting good alerts is such an important part when it comes to crypto because the markets never close. So if you don't have alerts set, it's really hard to pull yourself away from whatever it is you want to do in your life. So
yeah, that's why I have to recommend upgrading your TradingView package. Like if you're wondering where's good value to spend your money on, it's definitely not paid groups, but it's definitely upgrading your TradingView suite to get more notifications, if anything.
Yeah, that's actually literally why I upgraded. I had the pro subscription and I went up to the whatever it is, premium, because of the alerts. I had 10 alerts set. It's like, that is your max. I was like, well, you got me.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
this is probably
figure it
the
paid
other
me back.
that everybody should be watching right now. It's the protocol, it's the layer one, the grandfather, it's the Ethereum. Any break above this range, I think, will be a substantial expansion. This is just a 4 hour to keep things into perspective. This is the big level, support level, 217 to be watching. If it breaks down from here, it's the top. Just accept it. We'll likely be revisiting these lower levels down here. But until that happens, there's no reason to worry. So on high time frames, this thing is coiling.
I mean, it looks, it's hard to say, but given what we're seeing in DeFi and the excitement in general in crypto, it looks like there's a lot of sort of almost mania re-entering the market on a lower level. Do you think that's going to sort of trickle up into something like Ethereum or Bitcoin?
I don't think it necessarily has to. Like, the other thing that we've never really spoken about is the large ETH Ponzi schemes that are in circulation right now. There's hundreds of millions of dollars locked up in there right now, so that's always an overhanging risk on things. The gas fees have obviously gone astronomically high right now, basically driven by those bots as well as the action in DeFi space. And take a look at the stablecoin chart. So this is a chart just measuring the stablecoin. Look at Tether. Ethereum has basically become the service vessel for Tether, and it's just exploded over $10 billion market cap today. So the point here is that people don't need to buy the underlying protocol level, layer one asset anymore to access the layer two, right? And I guess that's kind of the whole point of the DeFi movement. So you got ETH 2.0 coming up. There was a testnet announcement saying it could potentially be hitting us end of August. You've got to tap on 3 to 4 months of testing. If they don't find any critical bugs or anything, it's theoretically it could go live end of this quarter, early next year. So it's all catalysts that are just lining up right now. The narrative is building. So eventually, I do think it's going to spill over to the majors.
Okay. Yeah. That's each day that goes by, it's a little harder and harder to see the rollover that I think many of us were probably expecting to come a little sooner after 10K and 10.4 hit earlier in June. So, not putting chickens in any particular basket based on a hunch, but the chart right now does look good. And I will flip actually over to mine real quick. I want to talk a little bit about the corn. So I'm going to be watching, as I have been really for the last little while, I've been watching this range here as well as this little pennant that we got the breakout out of. So, nothing too crazy yet. We're still just in range, and that's why you'll continue to see altcoins doing fairly well right now. Again, always depending on which one is in your bag. On a zoom out, there's actually a larger pennant working. Likely a much more significant one here, where we've got the move up off the bottom in March, and since then really have just been consolidating in this fairly large pennant. If we break above here, we've got new structure, which would reverse this little downtrend that we've been in, where we're making lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so reversing that with a higher high here, to me, that would be a push towards at least our range high. I mean, that's pretty close. It's only about $100 beyond that, but ultimately up to this pennant top, at which point we'd have to really see what's going on with divergence and if we're going to be sliding into there on low momentum or speeding up as we go through. The big resistance that would change everything for Bitcoin, right up here around 10.4, 10.5. I mean, the new high here would be 10.5, but as you can see, we've just smacked into this little range, and you may know from watching some of my charts before that I like to use these little spaces for my resistance and support areas because I don't get as many false signals from that. So if I put a line here, one single pip across, you get poke throughs and closes on the other side, and there's all kinds of noise, whereas when I get a nice thick band like this, it just gives me a clearer idea and signal. And let's face it. I mean, price doesn't respect things to the dollar very often. It definitely happens, especially with fibs. But generally speaking, with these support and resistance, I just use these bands. So it bothers some people because it's not a perfect and exact science. They're like, well, exactly how thick is the band? I'm like, it's just a general area. And
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I've been a
they
big
work.
fan of the rectangles for a while for similar
Yeah.
reasons. There's always going
Yeah,
to
and
be a variance.
they look nice, And actually, shout out to TradingView. They just added an ability to save it as a template. So you can flip it to all your custom colors right away. So that's kind of cool. Love that.
Okay.
And we did get a little volume breakout here. I was keeping my eye on the volume. Not huge, but as you can see, the volume has really been trending down. We were talking about that last week, right? How it had just really almost non-existent on Bitcoin for a little while there. And so this little move up is not nothing. I think it's a little more significant here. If you just look at this little trend we had, it's the beginning of something new, in my opinion, if nothing else, just a move to range high. So we'll see. And today's that's an interesting daily candle we've got here.
Yeah, we had the news coming out
bullish.
today that U.S. chartered banks, national chartered banks, are going to be able to have custody.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a minute? Because I don't think
Yeah.
that got nearly as much press as it should have.
Get in this one. I think it's probably, it's getting close up to resistance here. Probably going to get a little bounce off this level up here. Its former all-time highs around 1900, 1910, depending where that supports. If it came back here and this turned into support, oof, that'd be a coil and rocket. And the retest I would like to buy. Fundamentals of gold just keep getting better and better and better. Something we also haven't even touched in the newsletter is that the underlying gold miners are probably going to be providing a lot of opportunity as well. S&P 500, just before we went off the air, Tesla was bound to report their earnings. They came back positive, even through the COVID shutdown. They reported higher, I think it was $6 billion in revenue versus 5.3 expected. So, the valuation is already, where's it at? Like $1,600 right now, and climbing up $100, 6.3% after hours. The valuation is out of this world, dangerous to chase. But what's just happened here is that everybody who's a genius shorting the top, well, they're going to wake up to margin calls tomorrow morning. Bitcoin correlated with the S&P? Well, if so, you know where this is headed. I still don't have another. Let's see. If I can clear this local high here at 3280, there's not much left. 2% up to the last major daily, weekly resistance level there at 3350, followed by the all-time high test, 3390. The NASDAQ has already done it. Will the S&P follow? Some other interesting points with the Tesla earnings is that it is now going to be eligible for a possible listing into the S&P 500 index. Maybe if that were a thing, we'd already be up here. Microsoft's still due to report earnings in a little bit here, in 20 minutes or something like that. Gold continues to push higher. All of this, look at that, new highs on the hourly. Ethereum getting very close here to that magic marker, this horizontal level. We've already seen this diagonal tested a few times. There's going to be a lot of stops. We looked at this last week on the last broadcast. The derivatives futures open interest has approached, March levels again. So a lot of people positioning themselves for this move here. There's going to be a lot of stops right above this level. It's only about 3% up to that 252, 253. No real resistance or anything up till 275, 280. And, this is zoomed in. We haven't even looked at the real market structure of this beast. It's been a long time. There's been no need. Look at this contraction. There's just been no need. We'll take a quick look at it here because why not? And this is going to show you how powerful, technical analysis is, because it's not all fugazi. Here we can see this major level that everybody should be keeping their eye on, 380. If this thing goes, wow, there is so much upside in this market here. Can't even imagine what market conditions would be like. Yeah, it just gets ridiculous. So there's not even a point in looking at it. Let's get back to reality here. Bitcoin's the same thing. Like nothing changed here. Till this level goes, trade with caution, careful of long resistance. I'm all about catching the confirmed move. I don't care about this little gap here. Care less. I'm waiting for confirmation to catch the real juice, and that's what we're going to be looking for across here. Mid caps, take a quick look. We've called XTZ really, really well here. So far, prices respected the horizontal pretty much to a T. There's going to be a lot of stops and liquidity resting right above here, 3.34 or something like that. Looking here for support. Yeah, I don't see anything sad about this market at all. It was just announced that it was launched into the Chinese blockchain ecosystem. Basically, China is trying to move to a digital economy with a blockchain backbone to that. Transparency and accountability. Oops, I mean surveillance, because that is the final key for blockchain technology at a nation level. It is not for you. It is being used against you, but it will be advertised otherwise.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that. We had that article up yesterday on our Twitter.
Which one?
The Chinese article.
Yes.
Government of China. They named a few coins. They basically said, "Here's the coins we're going to pump with this announcement."
XTZ, Neo. And that's kind of why we saw a lot of pops on those coins. Yeah, Nervos. Like that's another Chinese. I've tweeted about that one. That's a Chinese sleeping giant. They're doing a lot of big stuff on the infrastructure side. They got $100 million in funding. Some OTC insight. Their previous rounds were oversubscribed big time. I'm talking like 9 figures oversubscribed. So there's a lot of demand in that market. And the two-way market was pretty active as well. And I say, the long-term success of a project, I always look at the two-way market to see how investors are positioning themselves. But yeah, I guess we can take a quick look at Nervos. It's a choppy market. It's hardly even known in the West. It looks a lot better on the monthly here.
Still kind of like that post-listing negative price discovery.
There's not a lot of data on it.
Yeah, but hey, look, there on the daily, it looks like it's trying to put a little bottom in.
Yeah, like you can see this SR flip right here, and Wyckoff theory. We're big fans of that for so many reasons. But boom, look at that. Sure enough, as long as this level doesn't go right here, I think that 50 mark. I think it looks pretty good. If I were bidding, I would be bidding this area, tight stop and validation below here or something. But from a fundamental point of view, and hashtag follow the money investment strategy, which has worked very well, this is one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to flip over to my screen here. I want to talk about ETH BTC, which is actually looking pretty good right now. And if I just pull something off your screen here, there you go, looking clean. So we've got ETH BTC just put in a big bullish retest here the other day. I mean, it's just quiet, right? Nobody's really paying too close attention to it. I mean, I'm sure some people are, but it's not hitting any leaderboards. It's not hitting any big news, except for what you mentioned earlier about how the August 4th, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's the proposed testnet date. But, that stuff can all change on a whim. We've seen that past. Like, we've had previous big releases delayed for the exact reason aforementioned.
Yeah, and so, I mean, just any talk right now, I think, of ETH 2.0 that doesn't include the word delay is going to be bullish for Ethereum. Now, what's really kind of cool about that is that we kind of know it's coming.
Yeah.
And
we always say, and you bring up a good point though, because you always say we know it's coming. We are a small group. We've seen the news cycle of these things. Once Bitcoin and Ethereum, all these smaller caps start moving, they get mainstream attention, and then the real move comes in if you can get the retail and media on board. And I think the household names and brand awareness that Bitcoin and Ethereum have built up over these last few years I think we could see that could be the real catalyst to break these levels up here. That's what we need.
Yeah, and if you can, try to have a few public proxies in your life. I've got a friend who, without fail, will call me anytime the top is in. And he did it last summer, I think within 2 days of the top at 14K. He did it in 2017 within a week. And if you can have, and it's, it's not their fault, it's just that they get excited, and they get excited at the exact moment when Johnny Public is excited. So I have that. Actually, my sister's a bit like that too. So anytime I hear from her about, hey, how's Bitcoin doing? I'm like, oh God. And so we're going to get those, public proxies popping up, keeping an ear to sort of see if we can gauge when, not for tops, but really just when the public starts to hear about this stuff. Because I still think it's fairly quiet. I think last week we got a nice boost from the Twitter hacks. Cryptocurrencies hashtags were trending all over the place. But maybe not for the reasons we wanted. The next phase, look at this chart. You've got just this huge long downtrend coming in, bullish divergence, breaking up, consolidating, breaking out of that pennant, and just really consolidating here for 36 days, and then broke out quietly, and now we've retested it, and we're pushing back up into it.
It's classic Wyckoff get long with a tight stop under that.
Look, you can frame your risk at the pivot here, You like nice big stop. If you want to get into the leverage, you got to be a lot more right about the exact entry. So really, that's why people say it's really reserved for someone who knows what they're doing, and it's high risk stuff. But look at this. Oh, it's exciting. So look,
I know.
We have seen what we've seen in alts in this move on the dominance, Bitcoin losing dominance, consolidating. We got the real exciting sort of pumps in the last little bit through this move here on dominance. ETH BTC still hasn't moved. And that's exciting to me. If you look at the bigger picture, this move, a move down into all these spaces, that's the majors moving. And obviously some others along the way, but it's the majors that have to move that. And so
either cryptocurrency is pumping like crazy and the total market capitalization is mooning, or Bitcoin is headed in the opposite direction and completely detached from all the other markets, which I can't see happening. So I think the former seems a little bit more likely.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's not hard to see some kind of pullback along the way. That's just the nature of the market, but it's really hard to see this stuff going anywhere into sort of the despair phase again.
Yeah.
It really does feel like we're out of the woods, and
I think we need some 0-day exploit to really take things down.
It would have to be catastrophic at this point.
Yeah.
Cat's out of the bag, and I think it's more likely that there's a hopium that it will go back down so someone can load up.
Yeah.
There is,
I wanted to go to 7K. Part of me love to buy that at 0.
Part of me, I think now it's like, okay, so I'm confident it's going back up, so I really want it to go back down so I can get some. It's like, I don't know if that's how it's going to work. But this is the long open interest on Bitfinex. We just made a new high today on Ethereum. This is a long position that really kind of broke out, if you will, or someone's been building up since last summer. It's just been slowly rising and much more in earnest since, that's 2 summers ago. So really, this is the weekly. This thing's been rising for a long time. But it broke out in earnest back in February. And we've been tracking it since the spring. So I'm going to pull that up real quick before we switch over to altcoins. Because ultimately that's what I want to look at today, is just get into some nice dusty old shit coins that we can get some high volume breakouts on, hopefully over the next few weeks. This is back in February, where we had the big old dump. Actually, it was the beginning of the big old dump right here. And so that's really when, all these dumps, rising in rising long open interest, right? Flying up. So it's still making new highs. And price is thinking about making new highs too. So whoever's in this long, congrats. You've been doing well, and it looks like it's going to continue to do well. I just don't see this being public money. This is huge sell-offs, big rises in long open interest, so it's exciting. We've talked about that before, but as we're getting close to breaking out, I just have to bring it up again.
That's a great point. Just buying
Um,
resistance, buying dips, just buying any Ethereum available.
Yeah, now VeChain is one that really led the way earlier this spring. Uh, Broke out, well, late spring, sort of May 21st really started from its bottom of this move, broke out through June, really took off in July, and it is a supply chain project, okay, focusing on tracking, distribution, stuff like that. One of the big use cases, potential use cases for crypto. And so we pulled up a number of other projects that do the same thing. Because one of the things that we both know about crypto, and many of you probably understand this as well, is that because it's a speculative game, it's a lot about, look at that thing pumped. What's like it? I'm going to go buy some of that because it hasn't pumped. What's hot this month? And the biggest and best example of that I can think of is Neo back in the summer of 2017 when it rallied and ripped faces after Ethereum had a huge breakout because of the term Chinese Ethereum. And so as soon as somebody says Chinese Ethereum, you're like, oh man, Ethereum went like 100x. This thing's going to go 100x too. So then we saw it again with Binance Coin. Binance Coin did really well. Then KCS came along, Huobi token. So you get these sort of echo pumps. And I think we were speculating, a few weeks ago, that we might see that in supply chains. So we had this nice breakout, pump chaser retest, continuation there. Track, another big one in the supply chain sort of domain, also doing really well. So spotting these kinds of patterns and then finding one that fits this mold hadn't rallied yet. Well, we did that a few weeks ago when we picked out Ambrosis.
It mooned.
And today we got what we were waiting for, which was a supermoon move of almost, on today's candle, we're up in the 40 to 50%. And this is one that's set up beautifully. Not only did it have a good technical setup, but then you've got that narrative to back it up. And that's where you can really get a superpowered setup. So we had the bottom come in on bullish divergence here on the MACD. Bullish market structure, break through the trend line, trickled up, and then came back down into this RLZ and put in new structure, at which point it broke out and came and even gave you a second retest. This thing was so generous.
That Dave on the MACD is a perfect example of how you can't just use one indicator in for determining entries and exits, more so just confluence. I'd be taking a look at that and looking for some bottom structure to form off that divergence, which would add confluence to the market structure and the idea. But look how long that went on for. That's crazy.
Yeah, having multiple reasons for a trade, ideally unrelated, right? And I'll give you the example. If you have like 6 momentum indicators and they all show a bullish divergence, it's important to understand that's not 6 different reasons. It's really just, okay, momentum, one. Right, so having a few different reasons why a trade setup is really good will really up percentages, winning percentages. And so in this case, we had all kinds of reasons. The supply chain one in general alone was one. But then you had all these technical reasons. You had the divergence, the market structure, and the location right here in the fib retracement. So I'm not shocked that this blew up. I'm very excited. I don't think this is an easy game, but man, sometimes it feels like it looking back. And so a nice breakout, retest. This sweet spot, 143, 147, basically 2x'd. And I think this thing is like something in like 2.3 million market cap. It's so micro.
It could run if it's truly all season. Look at that.
Yeah. It's kind of exciting. This is also actually months ago. I didn't, actually before I was working with Hxro, I was watching this because I was doing a scan on altcoins based on volume. Just get the weeklies, get
this
a
thing
naked
was
weekly
getting
out,
accumulated,
and start just looking for these because it's really obvious to see it when you're on a weekly like that. And so I did a scan of every Binance coin, just looking for this kind of stuff where it just looks like a dead project. There's nothing really happening in price action. In fact, here's where it started. And from there, we dropped significantly. So, again, not trading off one reason. Look, once this structure broke here, that was like spring 2019. It was disgusting. Actually, what is that? Spring 2019. I think I might have been in a trade in that, and that was my stop loss. And that's why I use stop losses sometimes, because it ended up going down up to 93%. And at that point, we were 1.5 years into a bear market, right? And people say, oh man, we're down 90%, like the bottom's in. It's like, well, you can actually drop 93% from there. So slight shout out to my stop loss. Thanks for saving me a few bucks there. And then you just wait and you get this bullish stuff coming in and all this other stuff we talked about, and suddenly, it's ready for a long again. But I think, I think a move up into this kind of area over the next few months, if we get what we've been talking about with, dominance breaking down, ETH BTC. I mean, this is the long open interest. ETH BTC breaking up. God, it looks close, doesn't it? We thought it looked close yesterday. Now it's just pushing again.
Take a look at my. Let me share a screen, and I've grown towards line charts recently, and look at this easy setup. There we go. This is what I'm looking for on ETH. Like, I want the confirmation, and look at that. Look at the opportunity that's still on the table. Now you have a super high probability that this is going to play out. 30%, 58%. Right here is the main level I'd be looking for. It's huge monthly level. There's so much room here, and like it's the same thing like across so many major caps. Like same thing with XRP BTC. Like why get interested over this 5% when you're looking at a 56% range expansion? Like,
yeah,
just set the alarm and hold on tight. There's
kind of
so many
sick.
good opportunities still, even with all the micro caps popping off. Like there's still all these opportunities around right now. It's got to be patient. Put the time in to actually look for them.
Yeah, and I think patience is an important point. You want to drill home, because it is very hard when things are moving the way they are for certain coins. I mean, we had Mithril today. We had Dust got a nice little move today. I mean, just check the leaderboard. Every day there's something. Liquidity moving around the space. And if you're sitting in Ambrosis, like I was, a week or two ago, and it wasn't really moving. It was about a week it spent down there. I'll pull it back up here real quick. Get your screen share there. And so just real quick, I mean, we're going to get into a couple other ones here. Ultimately, I don't want to just talk about things that just went crazy. It's nice to talk about things that might go there next week. But I mean, look at this. Ambrosis moves up. It came back down, tagged the RLZ, and that was June 27th, till July 7th to make structure. So once you get this bullish market structure in, you can just chase that breakout if you like. I tend to watch it, follow it.
There's usually going to be the retrace to retest.
Yeah, often in that. And then if you're the type, if you're breakout trading like this, catching that, and then your stop loss is like below that new support, I mean, you're getting stopped. And it's almost like the bottom right when that happens. So waiting for that retrace into this RLZ, 786, 702, what have you. And that took me, I got filled on the 702. And that took, still 4 days. Not that long. So in this case, it's not too crazy. But sometimes you're waiting 2-3 weeks. And you're watching stuff go up, and you're hearing about people talk about these moon bags. So it is tricky, and you do have to be patient, and your day will come. If you have, a solid setup in a solid market with a solid project, it's, probability is your day will come, and if it doesn't, you take a stop, whatever, and move on, if that's how you trade. Now, WTC is another one that was on our list. Whoops, hide my little personal setup there, but Walton Chain is another distribution one. Now, this thing got some serious legs back in 2017. I still remember, the telecom partnership that they had, and it absolutely mooned. So it's funny to me, snapshot time machine, let's go ahead 2 years, and it's sitting down here so low compared to what it was. And that's, again, just, the stories we tell ourselves as humans. There's a different cycle back then.
Yeah.
They announced a telecom partnership. It already had mooned earlier in the year, then dropped down as probably around December 7th. Yeah, this is where ETH BTC bottomed out in 2017. And then we got into the big face rip, and they announced some kind of telecom partnership here.
Perfect time.
As it turns out, right? Who's talking about the telecom partnership now? I don't even remember the name, right? But as far as this thing doesn't have as a long, kind of drawn out accumulation range as I'd like some of these other coins. But it is, it's supply chain. So it does fit the narrative for Ambrosis, Track, vet if that's going to be a little theme going on. Then
I like the mixture of fundamentals and technicals.
yeah, me too.
It's
I
good
like to have a
edge.
reason for a bullish chart to go bull.
Yeah.
It's not just a technical setup, and that's kind of the problem with the last 2 years of trading. Is you're trading these technical setups, some of them pop, some of them didn't. But if you have, mainnet launching next month, rebrand coming up, like if you have these kinds of things that just put people's eyes on them, gets a little price action, then you get more people's eyes. I mean, that's how you roll through some of these major rallies. So I like Walton Chain here. Full disclosure, I do have a position from a couple weeks ago, and I'm just going to be keeping an eye on it. I think this whole sort of little subsector, I mean, look at them. They're all doing well. And Walton Chain's right there with them, and it's looking pretty bullish. So kind of cool.
Crypto likes to move in a pack like that.
Yeah, so chew on that name. I think Walton Chain is worth a look. I can't speak to the lower time frames. I'm not here to give financial advice and entries, but I like Walton Chain. Now, Chainlink. What do you think about Chainlink right now?
Oh God, I thought I was shorting above 8.5. I thought it was going to go lower. We've hit that first support level. I guess I'll share my chart here. Speaking the language of traders.
Yeah, let me get that one up, and then I want to dig through my blue list here to get into a little more altcoin stuff. All right, you're up.
Daily chart. There you go. I thought if we were going to break this level right here, the support level, I'd be looking for something like this to finish it off for a third leg. That hasn't happened. The links are too strong. So they've held this level here. So it's easy stop loss. If you're still bullish on the market, I would probably wait for this former resistance level to support level to break. Otherwise, Wyckoff theory resistance test. If it confirms bearish here, then you'll probably get enough momentum to break it down. If it moves above, momentum is strong. It's probably going to go to new highs once again. So there's a setup on both ways. On a network level, I know its activity has really rocketed it off this past quarter, almost 2 quarters now. Wow, this year's just flying by. Oracles definitely have a lot of hype around them. They're going to be essential, especially in the supply chains. I think that could be a possible solution to human input there and trusting the data in the first place. You need multiple feeds. So I think there's definitely going to be a pivotal role of some type of Oracle solution being deployed into these smart chain solutions. I don't know which one's going to win yet, but the common strategy in this space early on is just pepper your bets. Eventually, the winners they'll surface, and you can consolidate your portfolio.
And that's another potential theme that's emerged. I know I've been hearing a couple murmurings. There's not too many bigger names in that Oracle sort of conversation, but I heard Unibright was sort of trying to be that, or is that? I feel a little unprepared to expand on an extensive list, but I know Unibright's been one that's been on our radar for a little while here. It is testing support after breaking up. I think, what was that? Teller?
Teller, yeah. That one's pumping quite hard actually right now. It's over $15.
Yeah, that's not on. I'd have to pull that up here. Maybe you could pull that up.
I think it's on a really crappy exchange.
Yeah, that's the thing. You might have to go to CoinTrader Pro to chart that one. So here's UBT. It's kind of had its wild rally in the past, and here to me it's looking like it might set up for another leg. So I'll be watching for this support level around 37, 36 to 38 holding. Obviously, this is just below, actually, it's just below our pump chaser zone as far as trying to chase that thing out. So lucky entry to anyone who's trying to take a long off support, and we'll see if that ages well. And it's hard to get the full view because it only just listed on Bittrex recently. So there's not a whole lot of history there. CoinTrader Pro is...
This is where you can get into recency bias. That's why I don't like these charts with not a lot of data. Obviously we're working with what we got, but it's tough to formulate really informed opinions on the market until you get some price data around there. I know a lot of funds, I acting in a similar way. They don't want to touch a new asset or a lot of these DeFi assets from a trading perspective until they actually get some market structure and data behind them, if they're not already investors and dumping on retail.
Yeah, exactly. Now I've got a chart here for CoinTrader Pro for UBT. So this is like the higher time frame to try to get rid of that recency bias. This is actually where I first thought of it. It's a nice drawing and all this stuff in this parabola, but if this level doesn't hold, it's just as possible that we just kind of chop through here for a little bit. I mean, there's really no legit or I should say.
You can make a case for an inverted head and shoulders there. I thought level holds too.
Actually, yeah, I like that there.
That looks really good.
That right there is an opinion or a thought that fits my bias, so I like it.
Look at that.
So you get those.
I'm a huge fan of inverted head and shoulders. Like, bring them on.
Yeah. No, and that's why, I mean, in general, this is support that I am trading. I think there's a story here. I think there's a chart here that I want to be long on if I can get in at a nice R level. It's tight and validation. So solid spot for Unibright this week as it pulls back. Now, a couple others that I have here on the blue list that I want to just bring up today. Aeon is one that I've been watching fairly closely for a long time. Yes, all the way through this. And we had this level circled because of the intersection on this GAN 8-to-1 and the sweet spot on this fib for this move. And what a tap. I'm serious.
What a tap.
What a tap. I mean, I get so fired up when these things happen. Like I put TA on the chart, and it's fun to have squigglies and it's fun to have, A, B, C, D harmonics. But sometimes it just works so beautifully. It feels, it's exciting. And it's not about, look at me, I called it, but it's like, oh, I got a fucking entry and that thing's going to age well, hopefully. And right now we're just pulling up through this short RLZ, which is where I might expect to see some holding down of price and consolidation, but it doesn't look like it's going to give up. And their token release schedule, TRS, is ending later this year in November. For those of you who don't know, that's just basically this massive inflation model they had to distribute their tokens. So think of it's being kind of called the eighth inning. It's like, with the halvening where the inflation rate of Bitcoin gets cut in half, Aeon's inflation rate is going to drop, to an eighth of what it is. So that alone, once that story kind of gets a little more front and center leading into November, I believe I
love deflation.
Yeah, I mean, that should have some pretty good impact on price, aside from the fact that, as far as I know, they're just building some pretty cool things over there. I don't have all the notes in front of me, but there are some, government contracts and other cool stuff. So Aeon is one I'll be keeping an eye on. You will see it back on this chart at some point on the stream. And Dusk is one that a lot of people in the Telegram are looking at today in the trading pit, which, by the way, the description is in the link is in our description below this video. So, while you're at it, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, right at the New York Kill Zone market close. And yeah, hit us up. And hit us up in the chat too if you guys have any ideas of coins you want to look at. We'll be taking those kinds of requests near the top of the hour, or I should say the bottom of the hour.
And they'll be taken seriously.
Yeah, we went a little over today because Wirecast wanted to throw us for a loop. So here we are, we're back on, and Dusk is looking bullish. Breakout through support, really nice consolidation bull flag, continuing today. Next stop will likely be up around the mid 800s, at which point, I mean, there's a whole bunch of levels, and this is not, we're seeing this all over the place. So these aren't necessarily tops as much as areas where you can expect pivots, consolidations, pullback, continuation. And depending on how you trade, this is all noise. There's a lot of people I know who are just planting seeds throughout the market, waiting for multiples, taking half their position back when it doubles so that they have a free position and riding that thing, as long as they want. So how you trade, how you approach the market is up to you. Levels like this can be really important for someone who's trying to trade it, saying, hey, once I get to here, I'm happy with that, and I'm going to get out and find something else that's at the bottom. So again, really identify how you want to trade. Now, this is one I found today, and it's a little unfortunate because it already had a little move today. I don't love buying these kinds of breakouts. block stack,
Oh yeah, there's a lot of OTC
STX.
activity on that one.
Yeah, so if you could talk to your OTC insights on this, if you have any, because this chart from October 2019 really hasn't done anything. There's definitely some signs of accumulation, some big buys coming in along the way, more so recently. And they have a mainnet, I think, launching late August. And, whether you think that's ridiculous or not, the fact is when things have mainnet launches, they tend to rally into them. They are probably the most brilliant piece of buy the rumor, sell the news info you can have. And that's coming for this one. So,
Their GitHub's pretty active too. I'm just looking at it now.
oh, that's good to know.
They're
Always
not
nice to
dead.
see.
They're not
Yeah, always
dead.
nice to see development happening. I mean, it should be active if they're friggin' launching a mainnet. I looked at their website today. They have 6 or more projects being built on it. Or how you have no mainnet launched and you have projects running on it is a
That's
question I
actually
have.
kind of a common theme. Like, look at the
Is that a thing?
Polkadots network. Like, the Web3 fund is already funded over like 25, 50 companies in the space. So, like, that just gives you some insight into like the amount of opportunity. Like, their value right now, besides like the private funding they've already raised, but their token value is zero. Like there's so many of these,
Yeah.
there's just going to be all of these great projects with like DeFi elements, huge, backings. So, they're actually going to be able to deliver their product. They got really good developers. I'm really excited for that. There's going to be a lot of opportunity there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of charts that we're going to be posting in the future on that one. Same thing with the Cosmos space. Like that's one of the best performing ecosystems in the space right now is Cosmos.
What projects are on Cosmos off the top of your head? Do you have any? Because I actually
Oh
didn't
God.
really look in. I've never really looked into that myself.
Wallet. What we should do is create a similar to like the Dragon Index. We should create an index for each of these ecosystems and put it on the
Yeah,
Masari charting tool.
that's a great idea. We should write that down.
So yeah,
This is
Terra
why I love
Luna.
working in the
That's a
lab.
big one. A lot of hype around that. That huge OTC activity around that one actually.
Which one
Like
was
I
that?
said, OTC activity, in my opinion, super strong indicator that a market's going to be liquid and probably higher chances of exchange listings because normally those projects have the funds who have the funds and also the relationships to get listings on major exchanges so they can dump their tokens.
Or pump. Come on. No.
Well, they're going to
but,
pump like
but yeah,
the
offload.
OTC markets are popping right now just as hard as any other one. Band protocol, like that thing is up massive right now.
Band is the other Oracle play that I heard about. It's one that's being considered that, anyways. Pump
Dude,
Jason.
there's a fund that invested in like so many like these early DeFi projects and like they're up massive. Woodstock fund, like they're crushing right now. And that's why like I'm looking at all the funds of who's investing in all these other ecosystems. Like, follow the money.
Yeah.
They're putting the research time in, like most traders aren't.
Well, that's what the thing. When I see, I was just actually having this conversation last night with a buddy, and it's like, hey, we're in good company. If you can be in good company in an investment and say, who am I? Because I'm not, I'm not part of a big fund. I don't have a lot of the insights that some of those research teams would have. And
Mm-hmm.
if they're sitting there saying, we're really bullish on this thing, we've done our due diligence and we love it, I'm down to throw a dart.
Yeah, it's a
Honestly,
proven
that's a
strategy.
it's a great way to get on board, and that's a bit of following the volume too. I'll give you an example back to Ambrosis. I mean,
That'll work in the liquid
this
market,
is a
like the
lot of
listed
buying
markets.
interest. Yeah, this is a lot of buying interest. Somebody here
Yeah,
is loading up. Is that person going to protect these levels? Are they going to protect their investment? And that's the idea of getting long with the smart money at the bottom of markets, because they tend to have the pockets and the availability of capital to protect their interests. I want to be
yeah.
long where they're long.
Especially in this low cap environment where it doesn't take much
Yeah.
to move this stuff or accumulate dollar notional terms.
Yeah. Now to shift gears out of small cap, I've got XLM here. It did put in a pretty sweet SR flip here after a long, kind of drawn out, boring accumulation phase. Oh, we're going to break out? No, hit your stop loss. Oh, we're going to break out? Nah, have a stop loss. And we finally did break out. And this volume, to me, marks, a significant breakout in the sense that the probability of it just coming right back down to be another one of these goes way down.
Yeah.
And you can see we got that bullish retest where another round of volume came in, dwarfing all of the previous and cumulative volume. So this one looks strong to me. I think zooming in, again, full disclosure, I do have a long position in this that I actually just took very recently. Not against BTC though, it's against USDT. And it was because of this. Let's see, right here. Get that sweet spot entry off the retest, pull it up. I mean, you can't get sweeter entries in these when they work. And when they don't work, you have a fairly tight invalidation level. So
Hmm.
you guys are going to see me always drawing fibs. And it's probably never going to change. And this is why. I mean, 702, whap. Within a few pips here. And I'd like to get some bullish structure to follow up with this, but for me, this location on the higher time frame setup seemed like a good one to buy. It's also kind of a retest of this breakout here. So, well, it's actually a little higher. Got my magnet on, messed it up, but this breakout here just
It's
came
good
down
level.
and tagged it. So I like the level, and on the high time frame, obviously, there is a little bit of upside, as is the case with all these.
Yeah, I like that daily level as well. If price were to break down, I would, and it's supported there, I'd definitely take a long off that.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about this bigger
Seven.
picture here? It's kind of sick. So, keeping an eye on XLM through the next sort of few months. I mean, this is a weekly chart, so you got to remember it could be a boring ass 1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever. But
Those are the best type of trades. Like you don't have to look at it.
they end up being, yeah, they can end up being the best. And the thing is, you might have a whole bunch of friends that really
Like,
like Myth, and they're long on it. LOL. Shout out to the Telegram
like
trading pit fellas. And
I think our goal right now is to try and get on the next big trade. Like that's something you can buy and hold for months, if not a year at a time. And I think like
that's
that's why
yeah,
like paying attention to the majors right now. And if you see these early, we break these horizontals, the diagonals break. These are all early signs of a trend change. Once it actually puts in a higher high, yeah, and a lower low, like there's your final bit of confirmation. So even if you missed 10, 20%, it doesn't matter. The thing's going to
yeah,
run. Like that's the real juice of the move. And like in that type of situation, for I'm going to call it the macro situation of crypto, if Bitcoin and Ethereum are succeeding, these caps there's going to be a trickle down effect in liquidity, and they're going to pump like.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, risk on, baby.
All right, so let's pull up a couple more charts. I mean, I think we're going to be ready to wrap here in a few minutes, as it has run well past the top of the hour. But let's see if we can pull up a couple more gems here. I do have a few in mind that I wanted to look at.
Well, while you pull those up, Tether's market cap over $10 billion
Wow.
in 4 months.
Did that just happen today?
Who would have thought that the pandemic would be the bullish thing for Tether?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, it's doubled its market size, so the market thinks so.
Yeah, no, you know what? My left headphone just ran out of battery, so it kind of threw me off my rhythm here. But it was fully charged. But today's tech day, so celebrate. Now look, USDT Neo pair, Neo USDT. Check this thing out. We got that news out of China that we mentioned, and Neo is another one to keep an eye on. Like fundamentally, there's all this talk of 90% of these projects will never come back. Well, look where the money is, look where the development is, and you tell me, like which projects are talking about runway for their funding, and which projects have a $400 million plus war chest.
Yeah.
The Neo Foundation is rich. They are doing well. I
They
don't think
turned
they're.
themselves into VC firms.
Yeah, I mean they're managing assets. That's what the report I read last night was from.
Exactly.
So the year-end financial report for 2019. So again, this is obviously 7 months later, but they're managing assets. They're holding USD, they're holding NEO, they're holding all these things, and obviously they're probably buying back their own bags at this level. Who knows? No official comment on
All the
that, but
fucking listed companies are doing it. Why not crypto companies?
yeah. And look, I mean, is there any upside here on the chart? I mean, especially if this was all speculation and that nobody was really using NEO at the time. Now we're down to $11. So yeah, like NEO, and I think this confirmed bullish market structure on the daily is very subtle. It's the kind of thing though where maybe a little while later I go look back and I'm like, man, I wish I saw that where we're right here.
Still early.
Yeah. Who's that in the background there? Anyhow, we've got yeah. So I mean, on a very small time frame, we've got a little move up to here, but that's not what I'm looking at. On the higher time frame, it's really just hard to chart. I guess on a chaos level, I'd probably put this up here. So
Well, I got the perfect chart for it.
higher low, back to the left, give it that chaos PRZ, and we're looking at $27 for a sort of an extension move.
Yeah.
And would you look at that? That is going to be confluent with this pivot low from back here. So yeah, if we get a strong expansion out of here, I don't think that's out of the question at all. Again, going back to the higher time frame stuff, the macros in the space, the big picture. This is like if ETH BTC breaks out of this, I mean, we've got all kinds of sick targets for a lot of coins in the space, and frankly, it does look like it's going to do that. So very exciting, even with all the pumps we're seeing and rallies we're seeing in coins. The best is yet to come, I think. I mean, I would say I know, but you never.
But nobody ever knows until
never
they
know.
get the alarm.
It's easy to say I know, but I'm just going to say I feel strongly that the best is yet to come, and there's a lot of these majors that haven't really moved at all.
Yeah, like, again, NEO, like it's what a beautiful chart. Like, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're grinding up here. NEO's down here. It's $17, and then look at that range expansion right there. Amazing. But that's the thing with a lot of these charts, these older coins that we're looking at, there's price history here. The AKA bag holders.
Yeah, people that are saying I can't wait till it gets here so I can sell.
And that's why I like the DeFi and new, Polkadot coins and new projects coming out of the Cosmos network all over the place. Like, they are starting from zero and no price data and no bag holders. Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, and they're gonna have that. It's a kind of a shiny new toy, right? There's no price.
There's infinite promise and no history of disappointment, which is what essentially, that's the ICO model. Sell the hopes and dreams. Failed to deliver on those.
Well, exactly. Sky's the limit, and I think speculative manias and hypes can run even higher than usage-based ones, because our imagination never fails to exceed expectations. Now, let's
hope scales better than tech.
There you go. Now let's pull up Ample. We've got Miguel here, who is curious about Ample. Frankly, I'm a little curious about Ample myself, as far as how the heck it works. I do understand that it's meant to be a stable coin.
If it's too far away from its baseline or index or whatever you want to call it, for the price, it's going to increase its supply and readjust. So the idea, more supply, more pressure to sell, it's fall in value, and it's vice versa. If it's too, price too low, then it decreases supply. Okay. So it's just an interesting play on that. It's like a synthetic stable coin.
Synthetic stable coin. So it's kind of a new
there's a few of them out there. Like, I've been doing a little bit of research. I'm not going to get into it now, but yeah, it's definitely a new asset class. And I think with how the space is maturing, I think these synthetic coins are going to get really interesting and blow up. They already kind of are.
If you know of any others, let me know, because I'm curious about these. I have a few buddies talking about how there's sort of yields from this. It's compounding over a certain number of days. If this and if that, then the yield over the next 30 days will be some ridiculous number. And they're all just assuming it's too good to be true and that the price will have to come way down. But that's one that I'm keeping an eye on, mostly just through them, listening in on sort of what their experience is with it. Let's check out the tether pair versus a real stable coin.
Wow, look at that sell volume.
Yeah. So
that's what I mean about the rebalancings, right? So I bet if you go look at that history and pair that up with the volume, you'll see a correlation.
yeah. So they're distributing these coins, I assume, to the holders.
Correct.
And then those holders would be happy to sell them. It's basically free money, part of
free
what
money. It's whoever can get there first, right?
Yeah, the rush to sell, and that's sort of probably the rush to the exit fear that my buddies were talking about. But so play safe when you're trying new things like this. You never know how they're going to end or continue. But for now, there's a lot going on with Ample. Very volatile. So
yeah, it's savage.
Money to be made there,
massive.
money to be lost there. So just remember, on the other side of a winning trade, there's often a loser. So be careful. I don't understand this. I'm ignorant to this new model, and so it makes me a little uncomfortable. There's things I know, and I prefer to stick to them. I like learning new things, so I'm watching and learning this, but I'm not putting hard-earned money at risk on something like that. Personally, wouldn't say that that's, again, don't touch Ample. I don't know. Just keep your heads up, guys, because this sounds crazy. Sounds wild. Free money, sexy, but it's usually one of those they take the mask off and they're not so hot anymore. Okay. A little odd example there for you. Anything else you wanted to plug today? In the altcoin space, talk about charts you wanted to discuss. I mean, this is an old one on Dash.
God, I haven't looked at that coin in forever.
I know Dash really popped earlier. It was December. It ripped faces back when nothing was ripping faces. This was the FOMO coin. Everyone's like, I missed the one pump. And it's right back down in the 786. So location is hot. And again, do you have the patience to sit out while some altcoins are going nuts and then park yourself at this level? Oh my goodness.
Fucking Stephanie.
Time out for Stephanie.
It's true.
All right, so let's have a look at Dash in the coming weeks. I have a feeling that this is going to age well from this level. Time indifferent, I don't know. Let's have a look. So
that's something I would put an alarm on and not look at. But yeah, huge opportunity if it breaks.
Okay, so let's go to 8008. I'm going to put that alarm on. And that's kind of the nice thing about the alerts we were talking about earlier. I can set this. I can say, look at Dash.
Shitcoin mooning.
My phone will tell me when it's time to look at Dash, because that's going to be new bullish market structure, probably breakout, probably get a retest. And then I don't have to sit there parked in this thing that's still got to consolidate, because this is like a massive move. Speaking of one, sometimes people say, just go buy the thing you think will go up and don't look at it. Well, I really like Hedera Hashgraph. H-bar. Do you have any OTC insights on that?
Oh yeah. There was plenty of high sell volume initially. But that was just, people just realizing gains from being in early. But they have a lot of partnerships. The activity's kind of died down now. It's basically just on the buy side. So yeah, sellers have kind of dried up there.
Yeah,
again, infinite hope, right?
Well, I did actually happen to get in here. I don't say this on any chart because obviously if I didn't do it, I wouldn't say it. But I mean, you can see the RT setup. The thing I'm always talking about, those 3 reasons with divergence and location, all that stuff. Things I picked up at my old trusty trade school down at TRI. Love that stuff. And so I had a little position here earlier in the year, and then the Google came out and announced, they're like, hey, we like Hedera. So we got like a.
They do advertise themselves as the enterprise blockchain.
Yeah, I think it was actually on the Google side that they said partnership too, and that's twice as cool. Crypto projects love to write about their partnerships, but when the big companies write the other way. So this is one that is, maybe a sleeping giant, I'd say, as far as like it's off people's radar all of a sudden. There's a lot of shiny new toys around.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on this one because it's the kind of thing like it just looks like the beginning of a monster trend. Get that kind of
Yeah.
move,
I,
consolidate higher low, and then get a next move, consolidate higher low. I mean, it's a little bit on the higher time frames. Like, I'm not comparing the projects in any other way, but this kind of thing where the big move up, long consolidation, big move up, long consolidation, big move up, and it just never really trended down. I call me crazy, but I see something like that for H bar as well. But you gotta have patience on those ones. They take a while.
yeah, like it's in a giant inside bar setup.
News today on H bar as well. Pascal says, would love to hear what you know about. If you want to share a link, or Pascal's a buddy of mine here, actually, great trader. He's the one who put me on to UBT. So shout out to Pascal. If it doesn't stop me out, we'll see. Just kidding. I made the setup myself. I just got the nice looking chart from him. And sounds like there's some news out on H bar, so we can have a look at that. And if it's significant and something you want to share, we're going to drop it in the Telegram group, which is entirely free. So come check us out in the Telegram group. The link is in the description. And if you didn't get something you wanted out of the stream today, questions or charts or things you want to know about, come hang in there. We'll be in there quite a bit. And looks like Australian payment card company
Yeah, I see that.
is going to trial micropayments using Hedera Hashgraph. So there you go. Adoption. Got little bits of adoption. So I think with that, we're going to wrap today, guys. Sorry for the shaky little mid part there. Shout out to Wirecast. Hopefully going to patch something soon because it was just an unknown error that popped up and it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you, live? We're going to shut you down. But we're back on Friday afternoon, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern at the market close. So bring your ideas, your shitcoin charts, your thoughts, and hopefully we can irk out some value in this hot market right now. These altcoins are flying. I think I'd like to end here because this is this might be the most important chart in crypto right now. Because if we break down from this range, don't tease me, baby. That's going to be hot. They're going to see a lot of continuations. You're going to see a lot of breakouts. It's going to be really fun to watch and participate in. So,
yeah, I think whatever happens in the majors here, it's not a move you want to fade, whatever direction it goes.
Yeah, you mean with Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, everybody. And with that, have a wonderful evening. Always play from a position of strength, and we will be back to see you on Friday. Take care, everybody.
Ciao.